Welcome back to Let's Talk Title IV, a podcast brought to you by the Title IV Part A Capacity Building Initiative. I'm Tiffany Lofton, and in this episode, we're bringing you a conversation with Dr. Celina Bley. Dr. Bley is the Associate Director of Training and Education at the Texas School Safety Center. She recently shared her insights with our ESC Title IV specialist, including Sentinel updates and legislative impacts as they relate to school behavioral threat assessment training. Let's hear what Dr. Bley has to say. Well, we're just excited to have Dr. Bley here. We were talking with her a couple of months ago, about everything that's happening with the legislature and how that is going to be affecting or potentially affecting the school safety realm. And since that is the land that she lives in and does so well, we wanted her to maybe discuss what that looks like for BTA, school behavioral threat, and some things like that. So we left the agenda pretty open for her as far as what she wanted to share with us. So Dr. Bley, I'm going to turn it over to you. I'm going to stop screen sharing and let you have the floor.
Okay. Can you all see me and hear me good? Give me a thumbs up. Awesome. First of all, I'm honored I was asked to come speak to you guys. I'm looking at everybody here and I feel like I know most of you. There are some of you that I haven't met, but I'm going to tell you about something maybe later on this month where we can meet. And I just was asked to come on and give a brief. So I just want to be very clear. I was asked to give a very brief kind of synopsis of where we are today on June 3rd. Just knowing that we're one day past the end of the bills from yesterday. And so I think we've got a pretty good idea of what this is going to look like for the future for school safety, at least for this upcoming school year, and for the next 2 years, actually, with our legislative session. So I really have four things that I'm going to talk to you guys today. The biggest one, obviously, that I want to talk to that is not ledge related is Sentinel, because that is huge. The first thing that everybody needs to know is school behavioral threat assessment is part of the broader Safe and Supportive School program, right? That is listed in law. And one of the things that school districts have to do that we all know that we help them with is their annual data submission on everything that they're doing. That used to come from Hank Weikert's team, and that used to be sent out via an email, and that used to go one time to like just the superintendent or the safety director, and then one year it went out to all the principals, and then they were like, can we do it this way? That is now being submitted through Sentinel. And the reason why that is important is because Sentinel access is only given to the superintendent, who then has to delegate for all of that data submission. And all of that data submission has to be by campus. So what that is doing, we've gotten a lot of calls about the data submission. So what that means is that now is the time where all of your campus people are having to go into Sentinel to get that registration, but it's only going to come through their superintendent. So if you get any calls regarding the SSSP data submission, that is being done through Sentinel. It is not some other extra reporting system. We also know that all of the behavioral threat assessments that are coming through as of August 1st will have to be uploaded into Sentinel. We also know that we've been doing behavioral threat assessments since 2019, which means that all of the threat assessments up until August 1st, this is a very key word that you need to know to be able to share with your districts, is called legacy behavioral threat assessments. So we met with TEA yesterday, and TEA will be giving guidance on how to upload all of those legacy threat assessments into Sentinel, because the law still has not changed that if a student goes to another school district, they are still required to transfer that data. So for some districts, that's going to be a lot of data. For some districts, it might be, a small amount. But knowing that we've been doing threat assessments since 2019, all of those legacy threat assessments, if a child moves, will have to be entered into Sentinel. So I think that's a really very specific operationalizing piece that we assist our districts with on how they're going to do that. Currently, you can jump off mute. Who knows how they get in, how they do that right now? It's through what? Anybody? Don't make me be like Ferris Bueller here.
T-Rex.
T-Rex. Thank you very much. Who said that? Kathy. Thank you very much, Kathy. I appreciate that.
Hi, Dr. Bly.
Yes.
I want to make sure that I heard you correctly. It's only the students who withdraw and go into a new district that you upload there.
That is going to be a school district decision on how they want to do that. That is because they have to, by law, keep them until the student is age 24. And TEA is coming up with guidance on how to do that. So again, it really will depend. If they want to go and enter all of those before August 1st, they absolutely can. But what they have to be aware of is if that student who had a threat assessment in 2021 moves, they have to make sure that that's uploaded into Sentinel. So do y'all see how that's a bit of an operationalizing piece for our districts? So that is coming up. That is coming up. And this, all of my 4 things are going to tie in together very, very quick, very smoothly, I hope. TEA is going to have that guidance, and they're going to give out that guidance at our conference, which is number 4, which I will be talking to you guys about. So that's when they're going to hopefully have that guidance finalized on how they do that. But currently right now, because they're really working on how to do that, we currently, based on the T-Rex guidance, it kind of, because districts will say, well, what do we put? It's going to be the same level of information that they have. Put it into a zip file or an Adobe PDF and then upload that into Sentinel will be, from what they're looking at, that will be the same process. But the thing that's really nice about Sentinel, it's all going to be based on their PEMS code. But I just want you to be very clear when we are working with districts regarding these legacy school behavioral threat assessments, we don't want to forget to remind them that they've got to have that piece in there. It's really important. And so some school districts, as we all know, because we serve large and small districts, they've got a system, they've got everything in place. We also know that some districts, when leadership, has turnover, that some of those systems break down. And when that new leadership comes in, it's a good opportunity to help remind school districts. So is there any questions regarding that? Because I think that is kind of new information. It's something we just found out yesterday when we were working with them. And so I wanted to make sure that we really share that with you all. The term that they're using is legacy, but also they're also going to give guidance for if there are schools that are have management plans now. I believe their recommendation is going to be go ahead and enter it now, because now you can continue to put that management plan in Sentinel and it follows those students. So it's all going to be through their PEMS number. So that's the beauty. The problem is it's what have we done from 2019 to 2025? And so it's going to be that legacy piece. Are there any questions about that before I go to the next kind of thing?
When they're doing their Sentinel speech at the ESC, that is one thing they address.
Good.
They address that topic when at least they did when they were here.
Good. And so they will be addressing that legacy documentation. So we will have a document to be able then to give to school districts for that. So it's not just, hey, here's what you have to do. It will actually be a how-to video as well in Sentinel. So that's, I think, is very important just from that operationalizing piece. The other thing that I also want to be clear on is Sentinel is that management tool, right, that they're going to be using. It is not, it doesn't take the place of the training that they still have to by law take from either us or from you all. I know Tiffany, I looked at the agenda, is going to share if any of you want to get trained as a school behavioral threat assessment trainer. I know she's going to share that later. But TEA has been very, very clear, and we appreciate that they have said that nothing replaces the state mandated training. And I really want people to understand is that our trainings really teach districts how to operate and what threat assessment is, what it isn't, and really how you need to operate that. And now that I've been doing this for 6 years, I'm going to be really clear. If districts don't have the steps down, it's going to be really hard for them to manage a threat assessment because they don't know who's on first, who's on second, or who's on third. And so to me, they are two very, very different components. It is not an either or. And I only say this because we've already been at some of the things, and a lot of the feedback that we're getting is, oh, well, they have a manual, they have a field guide, we don't need to do your stuff. They can choose whether to come to our stuff or not, but we have been trying to be very clear with them. Those are two very different things. Sentinel is a management piece, and it is how you input your threat assessments and manage that threat assessment. And it's the data collection piece, just like all the things that they've had before, whether it's been Navigate, whether it's been Raptor, whether it's been their own thing. It is now Sentinel. It's a statewide program. They have to use it. But if they don't know how they even track their team members who've been trained, if they don't know how to call when and how to call law enforcement, if they don't even know what resources they have for a proper intervention, if they don't have their suicide protocols in place, all of that becomes a moot issue on what they're entering into Sentinel and how they're managing that scene, because this is where we are seeing that they are still struggling. We had a superintendent this past spring who came in from a new small district, and he's like, we have nothing. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that honesty to come in and say, we have nothing, can you help me? And that's why we really try to say, you need a manual on how you're going to operate school behavioral threat assessment in your district, because not everybody is the same. And I feel like, I know I'm getting like really passionate about this, but it doesn't matter what system they enter it in if they do not know who's on first, second, third, or fourth for that threat assessment process. And that's really what we work to train districts on. We work for it with our basic mandated training. If they need more scenarios, we do that in our advanced. If they don't have a manual on how they operate in their school district, we have one for them. We have a training that they can use. And then if they just need that one-on-one help, we also have that for them. So I just want to be very clear. Both are needed. And if they don't have either or, then those districts will definitely struggle. So I just wanted to be very clear that they have to have both of those components. And the new component of learning Sentinel is going to be a new piece for them. And it's a change. And TEA is doing a great job going out to all of the ESCs and training them. But it is going to really become apparent this summer with the Safe and Supportive School program. And then as we do that. So that brings me to the next part of, what does this do to our training? Right now, we are currently not looking at changing our state mandated training. And the reason why is because with this new management system, TEA is doing a really great job of getting feedback and changing things as it goes. And we really need to flesh out how it works until we decide if there's anything that we need to change in our training. We have already worked with the INTAC folks. And basically, if you conduct your threat assessment in our model that we train on, using the 8 steps and our 11 investigative questions, you will be able to effectively conduct your threat assessment in Sentinel. That is the basic thing. So again, we right now do not see a need to change our training right now until things get fleshed out. And we know that with any management system, right? Especially as come August and we start getting a lot of new users, any management systems and any software, things change. And the last thing that I would want to do is put a screenshot of a software thing that's in there that tells districts this is what they have to do, and it gets changed for the better, and then our training isn't up to date. So as of right now, again, June 3rd, we do not foresee changing our training, our basic state mandated training. So on that note, I'm going to, yes, Rod.
So maybe we just, after we do our training for behavioral threat assessment, trainers would just cite, and these things need to be uploaded into Sentinel per the directions in Sentinel, and just make that part, not make it part of the training, but just say, this is how you conduct training. That's what we're talking about. You'll upload those according to the most recent guidance provided by TEA
Are you talking
for
about
Sentinel.
legacy? Are you talking about legacy?
No, I'm talking about as we move forward, training people, that it's not going to change your training, but a reference to that these things need to be uploaded into Sentinel per Sentinel directions. Do you recommend even saying
I
that
guess
statement
I
in
don't
the
know what
training?
you're asking. Are you talking about like the certificates?
No, ma'am. I'm talking about if I'm training school behavioral threat assessment tomorrow,
Uh-huh.
so we train folks through it but just be able to say, and just a note, guys, when you conduct these things, they're uploaded into Sentinel, all of them per August, in the manner that Sentinel recommends. So we're not training on that portion, but we want you to know that's part of what you do in this process.
Well, I think you have to be careful, Rod, because the current guidance is, you just said you upload. There is no uploading starting August
Okay.
1st. It's entering.
Okay.
The uploading will be of legacy documents, and we're waiting for that guidance to come out. So again, as of right now, what we are doing is we are saying no, that you will have to enter all threat assessments starting August 1st into Sentinel, and we're waiting on guidance for legacy threat assessments from TEA. That's really what we're saying. Absolutely. So I guess I just want to kind of go back to what's going to be nice is we never put in our trainings, because we had districts that use Raptor, we had districts that use Navigate 360, we had them all. What's going to be nice is we'll be able to, once it really is underway, and once we get into that pattern and we know there's not going to be any more changes to the software, then we will be able to infuse some of those management pieces into our training. But right now we just don't feel comfortable doing that. Also, because we know it's changing, and we know that if you conduct your threat assessments using the 8 steps with the 11 investigative questions, you're going to be able to be just fine to enter anything into Sentinel. Do you have any questions?
The only difference we talked about, Dr. Bly, was that mild, moderate, and severe, the different levels. That was it.
Correct. And what we're going to do right now, Mark, with that is they will need to get that information from Sentinel, and based on Sentinel, what they're saying that low, medium, and high is, they will have to determine that. Okay. Anything else regarding SBTA? That was the first one, and I only have 10 more minutes. So any more about SBTA? And you can feel free to ask a question on SBTA. I'm not saying you can't. Okay, number 2, probably a little bit easier, I hope so, is our new EOP cycle review has been noted. It will start September 2nd. It will be the basic plan and the active threat for schools annex. And let me get this really fast. I wanted to go ahead and put in our links. Sorry. So I could put it in the chat. Here is the front page of our website. There's a video there that talks about this new cycle review. Just so that everybody's clear, we will go from September 2nd to October 2nd. So that will be the next kind of timeline for that. All that information is already ready. I know some of you have districts that are already like to get ahead of that. I know some of you have districts who are dealing with turnover, and so you're going to be really busy helping them get caught up once their new people are hired. So again, we will have an EOP new cycle review. The third thing that I have obviously is ledge items. We know there are some very specific things regarding school behavioral threat assessment and SPED. And so basically it will no longer be to the greatest extent practicable for SPED. If they do determine it's a SPED student, somebody from SPED will have to serve on that threat assessment team. And so we are working, that will be a training update that will be made. And when that gets updated, I will send that to all of the trainers and let them know for those new ledge requirements with school behavioral threat assessment. The other things, there's some new EOP requirements, obviously school safety allotment. I know TEA is going to be taking the lead on communicating with districts with that. We will have our school safety ledge toolkit up. Those will only be your school safety things. So we do that every year. and we will work to infuse any of our trainings with those other legislative items. House Bill 33 is a big one. It's the Uvalde Strong Act. That one, just to kind of give everybody a sense of, if I could sum it up in one word, it's multidisciplinary. And so what we're really seeing is that law enforcement, not just law enforcement from an ISDPD, but all law enforcement is going to be required to meet and to be trained on the terminology to be used, on how they're talking to one another, what the response is. A lot of that is going to be through the sheriff's meetings, those types of things that I know some of you. How many of you go to those sheriff's meetings? I just saw Rusty's hand. If any of you have the opportunity to, oh, I raised my hand and so it told the hand raise. So, but I don't know how to take that down. But if any of you want to learn more about that, the sheriff meetings I think are great to go to. We've been to one here locally just to kind of see how they work, and they're really great, and they really are about how we're going to be responding to schools. And it really is about that multidisciplinary team and that unified effort. If you get any questions about that, please let them know. We have SRP. They are going to kind of say we need to be all on the same page using SRP terminology. I know for a fact we had it wasn't a drill. We had an incident here just locally, and terminology like a secure lockdown. That's not a thing. So that's not a thing. So we need to make sure everybody's on the same page of what we're talking about when we are using the SRP. And so again, we have SRP training. If any of you, I know many of you also coordinate with the I Love You Guys Foundation. They are very well versed in the Texas laws and what we have to do. But again, we have plenty of room in our SRP training. So if we deem that we are all of a sudden now booked, I'm not really thinking the schools need it so much as also the law enforcement. So just if any of your local law enforcement gets asked, all law enforcement agencies are eligible to take our SRP trainings as well. And then the last thing, because I do want to leave at least 5 minutes for questions, is our conference is coming up later this month. I don't know if Rod and Tiffany can guide you if any of your Title IV funds are can be used for that. I don't know. It would be great if they would, but come learn, come meet everybody else. I think we have 18 of the ESCs already coming. And we would love to see you in person. We always have really great guest speakers. You can hear what some of the local districts are doing. We do have the executive director for NTEC giving the final keynote. That's Dr. Lena Alathari. And so we're just really excited to just have another great conference. It's a good time to kind of relax and just hear about all the different best practices that are going on. Rod and Tiffany, that's all I have for 25 minutes. So in the time frame that you gave me, is there anything else that you want me to touch on before we open up for questions?
I don't have anything on my list. That would be more if Rod or John had anything on their list.
Yeah, John, Rod, anything you've been hearing out there that I can clarify?
No, we're just like you. We just got done trying to follow legislative mandate and see the implications it has for Title IV use of funds. We have a little bit that we might touch base on, but no, I really do appreciate you and all the efforts you've done to partner with us to be able to help ESCs be able to train in behavioral threat assessment, and the lead you guys have taken from everything from standard response protocols to EOP trainings and the like. So I don't want to talk. I want people to be able to ask any questions you guys have, any legislation or anything you guys are wanting to ask Dr. Bley about.
I will say this. I know mostly everybody on here, and I do feel like everybody here also generally just picks up the phone and calls me when they are like, what the heck is this? So I just want to say I appreciate that so much. You all, I will put it here if you don't already have it. And I only do this for you guys. It's not to be sent out But that's my cell phone number. If you haven't already called me, if you will text me right now and just say who you are, because if I don't recognize the number, I will not pick up. But if you want to text me right now and say, hey, it's so-and-so from region so-and-so, I'll put you in my phone. But I know a lot of times we all know things happen after 5 p.m. and on the weekends, especially when it comes to school safety events. And so I'm happy if y'all need ever anything. I really appreciate the relationship that we have with your ESCs. I thank you for letting us come out. I know you all know Joe Munoz. He's always over at your ESC doing our 4064 trainings. We're already on the books. We are offering over 400 trainings next year. And so we are just here to continue to serve you. If you know of anything that you're seeing that the districts just really need, it's a lot. Just in dealing with the laws, that is a lot. And so we know that the last thing that we want to do is inundate and overstimulate districts with we want them to make sure they're doing the bare minimum. But I do want to say we did do a needs assessment, and some of the things that they were really talking about was mental health, specifically anxiety and depression in students. And so we are actually working on a training for that for next year that will be offered virtually. So if any of you have taken our trauma-informed care, elementary and secondary, we get great evaluations on that because they are tools that you can use tomorrow in the classroom. And so we are developing something like that as well, specifically for our stakeholders. And then the other thing that we got more on the law enforcement side is effective investigations between administrators and SBLE. And so we're also developing that as well. Those will all be offered in the next school year. Again, these are not mandated questions, these are not mandated trainings, but they're trainings that from our statewide needs assessment that our stakeholders are saying that they would like more training on. So we're going to continue to offer the trauma-informed care, the staying safe, the Sandy Hook Promise, if you need something for the students, our school behavioral threat assessment, all the things, but we all are also trying to build on that repertoire of safety training that our stakeholders are asking us for.
Dr. Bley, can you just share real quick what you were saying about new training coming out with special education and school behavior threat assessment?
Sure. So one of the new mandates, Kimberly, is, and it's a little odd because it's in two different bills, and so we're waiting for it to come out to kind of be fleshed out in the law. But the gist of it is that if you have a student who already is in SPED, right? That right now, the way the law currently reads, when you look at your team, it always says to the greatest extent practicable. So that means technically, let's be honest, they don't have to have a SPED person on their team. I always say that's a little silly to me when everybody has SPED people to say we couldn't really have it, but the law kind of gave that caveat. And I say gave because now, effective September 1st, if this student is already being served on another program, that person will need to serve on the threat assessment team. Not that person, but they will have to have a SPED rep, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So that I think is an important addition because we all know that many times those behaviors are behaviors that are already being treated on another plan. But that doesn't also mean that you can't still safety plan. So again, it's just making sure that that person is on the team. I'm going to give you a good example of that. Is there was a SPED student who liked to play with fire. So that was noted in the plan. Like everybody knew that the student liked to play with fire, but the safety plan to keep the students and the school community safe was still that they did a bag search. Does that make sense? So it doesn't mean that you don't do these things. So again, I want to be very clear. It's knowing that we have a responsibility to everybody, to the school, entire school safety community, and also to that student. And that was in the plan as well.
I'm glad we're having those discussions because when people come up and share privately, so many times it is on special education students, right? So having more
Yes.
pieces of the puzzle is helpful.
And the beauty of it is TEA is also aware of that, and they are also going to incorporate all of those law things also into Sentinel. So I really believe with Sentinel, that is really going to be the biggest gift to our school districts, because now we're not going to have over 1,200 school districts managing their threat assessments in 1,200 different ways. It will all be one statewide system and connected to PEMS. It will then automatically do that for them.
Dr. Bly, I agree with what Rusty put in the chat that
Oh, I didn't see.
for our SROs, we want to see more training other than 4064 so that they can get their teeth.
So I'm going to be honest with you guys. 4064, the reason why 4064 comes every single time is because people show up. And when we send our contractors to come out to you, they are expensive. So a virtual training is definitely a lot cheaper than an in-person training, because they have to go out there. So I'll use I Love You Guys, for example. It's almost double for an in-person training. And I'm going to be, again, 100% honest with you guys. People may register and then they don't show up the day of because it's a free training. And so we have got to get, in order to continue to offer 400 trainings a year, we've got to get people that will show up to the trainings. And unfortunately, post-COVID, they will show up virtually. And they don't show up in person. I think the reason why 4064 and law enforcement comes is because they have to get that mandatory TCOL credit. So we will try. We're always going to try, but I'll give a perfect example was our staying safe. We went to every ESC, and at some of them we had 13 people in those trainings. And so it's really hard to justify 13 when I can. So what we're doing now is we're still going out in person, but we're only going to go to 6. We're going to go to the 6 hubs and try and see. So again, we are legislatively funded, and we have to ensure that we are using those legislative funds also with fidelity as well. And so believe me, I've got a whole Excel spreadsheet I have all of our numbers, and I have the number of people who registered for every event and the actual number of people that show. And I can tell you per training what the attendance rate is. And I have it by in person and I have it virtually. And unfortunately, they will show up for virtually a lot more than they will for in person. So I agree, Rusty. I want to come out more. I love being out there in person. And we're going to continue. I will say this, we always try in person first. I always give it a shot. But if the numbers don't make it, we have to move virtual.
Because the vibe it gives is large urban areas are important, rural places are not.
Yeah, no, I
Plain and
understand.
simple. You're being honest, I'll be honest with you. When y'all won't come out and train our people because we're in the middle of nowhere, that's how they look at it. So school-based law enforcement is not important if you're in a small rural location. If you're isolated, oh well, that's how it looks to our people.
School-based law enforcement isn't important.
That's how it looks when y'all won't come train us.
I feel like we go to every ESC on for 4064.
For that one course, yes.
Yeah.
But when we ask for anything else, we get told there's not enough people. We can't come out there. We're not going to do that.
Yeah.
We need to be somewhere big. We need to be somewhere big. And that's,
okay, I'll work with Joe on that on the numbers.
I mean, at least give us a chance. And if we don't fill it, then you can say, hey, we gave you the shot for that intermediate and you didn't fill it. Let us try at least.
100%.
Let us at least try. I've been told,
that,
no, you wouldn't let me try.
Well, I will look at those numbers. That's good feedback. And I will say this week right now, we're in Lubbock. And so we go to different ESCs. We only do 6 and so 6 introduction, 6 intermediate. And so we only do 6 a year. And with 20 ESCs, we do their series, but we'll definitely look at that, Rusty, for sure.
I appreciate that very much.
Of course. Anybody else? I got some texts. Thank y'all. I will add you into my phone. Feel free to call me. Or not, you don't have to call me, but if you ever need anything, you're more than welcome. I will respond here as soon as I get off.
Dr. Bly, thank you so much for making the time and making the effort for us today. And we just appreciate the
Yes,
information.
absolutely. Y'all let me know if you need anything else.
Thanks for joining us for today's episode. You can find more information about Title IV Part A on our website, which is linked in the bio, or on the TEA Title IV Part A Student Support and Academic Enrichment site, also linked in the bio. Be sure to subscribe to our channel to receive updates on new episodes.